Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. I'm Ben. I'm joined by Sean as always.
Hello.
And today we're going to jump on the bandwagon again and talk about Netflix's new superhero show, Legacy of Jupiter, or Jupiter's Legacy. I said the name wrong. Jupiter's Legacy.
There we go.
It's not getting great reviews. It's slowly increasing.
It's getting better.
The reviews are slowly getting better. A lot of people are saying that it's stale. There's not enough happening. Where should we start? We're not going to... I mean, obviously, we have the Utopian, who is the head of this... what they call the Union of Justice.
Yeah.
And the story kind of follows him and his
Family
and a couple of other hangers-on.
Friends,
associates, colleagues, who get powers in the wake of the stock market crash of the 20s.
Yeah.
And then decide to try and make the world a better place, but not make the world a better place.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, it's like there's the code.
The code.
The code.
We follow the code.
We follow the code. Always follow the code. Don't kill. Don't get involved with politics. Don't fuck about with world affairs.
Never kill a prostitute.
Never kill a prostitute and hide her body in the trunk of a car. Because you will have to scrub that trunk of that car.
And that's why Ben no longer has a car.
You know, them dogs, they're pretty good. You know, let me tell you.
That's not in the code.
That's not in the code.
The Utopian's like, what? It isn't? All that time wasted.
You also have his family. His brother was along with the ride. You have his two children, one of whom is a superhero known as Paragon. I presume that's a play on the prodigal son.
Mm-hmm.
The Paragon. Look at this, a Paragon.
Yeah.
Presumably he will one day inherit the title of the Utopian.
Well, that's what it's all leading up to, isn't it?
Yeah.
They keep saying, one day you'll be the Utopian. One day when I'm gone, you'll be the next Utopian. Which probably implies that he's probably not going to become the Utopian because everyone's pushing it on him. It seems like there's probably going to be a darker path for him, I'm feeling, as time goes on.
Before we go any further...
Yeah, there's going to be a ton of spoilers.
Going to be a load of spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
And just to go back a little bit, I think that the reason why the reviews are getting so bad, because I read quite a few of them, and I think that some people are like, oh yeah, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and then there's like some people like 1, 2. And I think it's because a lot of people have given up after the first few episodes, because the first few episodes are a little slow, aren't they?
Yes, I also think that fans of Marvel, especially, where stuff is always happening.
Yeah, it was,
and there's fights and witty lines. This isn't that show. No. I think you've got to have a certain IQ to appreciate this show.
If you don't like it, you're stupid.
No, I think to fully appreciate it, I think you've got to know a little bit of history. You've got to know about the stock market crash. You've got to know about the 1930s.
Yeah.
I love the 1930s storyline, which is
I love the suits.
The suits.
Suits are incredible.
Oh.
We could talk about the suits for half an hour.
We could do. Let's do that.
Yeah. Let's talk about those pinstripe suits.
Oh, man. You know, I will say one thing about the 1920s and the 30s. The fashion was fucking great.
Yeah, they look fantastic, don't they? Yeah. I think the problem is with this is superhero movies have blown up lately, haven't they?
They have.
And it's mostly because of Marvel. It's a little bit because of DC.
Mainly Marvel.
But I mean... Zack Snyder, we reviewed that, amazing.
Yeah,
it's mostly Marvel. But the key to those movies is tons of action, tons of fight scenes, amazing special effects. And then a lot of TV shows have gone, right, that's a good formula, let's do that. Decent story, keep the story moving fast, lots of fighting. Invincible just came out on Amazon. We'll probably review that once you've seen it all. I've not finished it yet. That follows that formula, lots of action, pushing the story forwards. And The Boys does that. It does break it up with more tension like this did, but when the action scenes happen, they go on for a while.
Yes, and I think with The Boys, I thought season 2 started very slowly.
Yeah, there was a lot of world building, bringing in new characters, developing more history on the older characters, and then all of a sudden it was like, fight, and we were like, whoa!
Yeah.
This is why they threw everything in. Whereas Jupiter's Legacy, it's kind of saying, right, okay, we're going to give you a little bit of action, get you a little bit of a feel for what's going to come, but this is more of a, what did you call it, a origin story?
Yeah, this is an origin story. This is world building. We're just trying to explain, look, these guys got these powers from aliens.
We think it's aliens.
Or gods.
Yeah, we think it's aliens.
Basically, I mean, it's just that storm has obviously claimed a lot of lives
Yeah.
that they went through.
Yeah.
But you go through the storm, you get to the island.
Yeah.
That then gets you to Jupiter somehow.
Yeah. So
potentially.
To explain this a little bit, basically the main character, who's the Utopian, before he's the Utopian, he's obviously they own a steel mill, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's quite a successful business. They've got that massive building.
Yeah, he wants to expand. His brother doesn't. His dad's still at the head of the company. He's the favorite, so he's like, Dad, let's just go for it. And then they do, and then it collapses.
Yeah.
Because, well, it doesn't literally collapse. The stock market collapses.
Yeah, and because they've also pushed all the company's pension scheme in there, thinking they're going to get their returns.
It's ruined them, and it's ruined the workers' lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is awful. So his dad obviously doesn't really know what to do with himself because he's got a bunch of angry workers that would probably beat him to death in the streets.
Well, he's ruined his reputation. He's ruined his family's reputation.
They're broke now. Pretty much.
Yeah. So he decides he's going to take the only way out and jump off the skyscraper.
Which is very traumatic because the main character, he sees it.
Yeah, he does it right in front of Sheldon, who is the main character, Sheldon Sampson.
Yeah, the Utopian. Sheldon's such an awful name for a main character. But because of this, he starts seeing weird stuff. Everyone thinks it's because he's grieving. He starts seeing like flashes of his dad talking to him, and he starts seeing these flashes of images and stuff. And he goes on a little bit of a mini adventure to find out what's going on. Brings his brother into it, his best friends.
Best friend is George.
Yeah.
The reporter who wrote the story on the dad killing himself and breaking the fact that he'd been corrupt.
Yeah. One of the guys that works at the steel mill brings him in.
Yeah.
Fitz, is it?
Fitz, yeah.
The guy, they defended him, didn't they? Kind of, because they're like,
absolutely.
well, don't kill him because we might need him when we come back to work one day.
You don't want to kill a rich white guy.
Yeah, not a good idea. Yeah, they're black, so not in the 1920s. Not a good idea to start attacking.
No, but Sheldon was kind of cool with everybody.
They were friends, weren't they?
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah,
he was the face of the public face of the company, whereas Walt, his brother, was more the financial side of it.
Yeah, he was like the accountant, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's why he was saying, let's not do this expansion. It's too dangerous. We can't afford to. So he knew his dad was doing some dodgy deals to get this going, and he wanted to stay away from it because probably he was keeping his ear to the ground, and he thought, oh, the stock market looks a bit strange.
He knew that the interest rates were climbing up. He knew that the stock market had taken a hit.
Yeah,
not as a sort of
you could see he was getting frustrated that nobody was listening to him, and he was like, look guys, I know this is not right. This is not the right time to expand. Yeah. But the Sheldon, I reluctantly call him that, the Utopian, then starts having these hallucinations. He goes on a mini adventure, finds out about this island, and it's calling to him. So he gets this little group of friends.
He has to get six.
Six
for some reason.
Yeah.
And
so he picks up most of them there.
One guy we meet along the way because he's in the sea. The storm sank the ship.
Yeah. So grabs him. And he's the final one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they go to this island, and
the island tests them.
It keeps testing them, keeps making them angry, tries to turn them against each other, won't let them leave. And then when they finally get to the end, the final test is basically it makes you enraged, and it brings out all of your sort of hatred towards each other for the littlest things, and they all go after each other, try killing each other. It's actually what's her name? What's the woman's name?
Grace. Lady Liberty.
Lady Liberty. Yeah, she's the one that actually works out that the island tests you by bringing out all your resentment for each other along this journey, and you usually end up killing each other because she sees the corpses. Yeah, that's a pretty cool scene. Actually,
there was two. I didn't know, like 2 Viking corpses.
See, they said Viking, but they had the horned helmet, and I was
think
like,
that's stereotypical, though, isn't it?
It's not true. That irritated me. They were like, "Oh yeah, there's a Viking axe here," and then they turned to the side and they picked up the helmet with the horns. I was like, "Please don't say that's a Viking helmet. I'll get annoyed."
The 2 bodies, and they both stabbed each other, and they were both locked in position. Just the skeletons wearing the arm, which was cool. And it's like, oh shit, this is. And then there was like that. I liked that scene where they got the powers and they all saw because presumably these are aliens.
All gods, like you said.
Yeah. So given the name of the title, Jupiter's Legacy.
Think maybe it's Roman gods.
I think it's the Roman pantheon of gods, and that's why the Utopian, who Sheldon is the leader of the group, was given the better. He's stronger, faster, quicker, has the laser vision.
Yeah.
He passes that. He gets that because he gets it from Jupiter, who's king of the gods.
Yeah.
And then like Walt, who he gets more.
His brother.
He's not. What's his name again? The superhero name. He's more psychic.
Mind something, isn't it? Is he Mind Blast or something? I can't remember. See, I really like the scene before it when they're. I know it's not like a cool scene, but when they're talking about who they'd like to see. You know, if they could see anyone that they'd lost in the past. And Walt, who's the older brother, he's quite an angry dude. He's like, everyone else is like, oh, I want to see my grandmother. I want to see my best friend. I want to see this. And he's just like, the past's the past. You know, I don't live in the past. And then later on, when they get to Jupiter or wherever it is, and the aliens take on the form, or the gods take on the forms of the people they lost, he's so happy to see his father. Yeah. And you're like, you did want to see. And I was just like, it's like he never can admit or speak truthfully. He's
a very detached individual, isn't he?
I think he's a very sad individual, and he never learned. There's a bit where they're fighting, he fights with George, and George like gets upset with him. He's like, you've had it out for me from day one. He's just like, I've tried doing this and this during that event and that event, and you always cut me off. And he gets really upset, and he looks like he's almost about to cry. And Sheldon's like, knock it off, George. And George is just like, no. He's like, even when we were kids, he was like, if he didn't like something, he'd just cry, or he'd hide himself in a dark room. And it's like he doesn't know how to deal with situations.
I would say maybe there's some autism going on there.
Yeah, I think he can't. Yeah, I think you're right. He can't properly connect with other humans, can he?
That's it. But they do get given the powers and some snazzy costumes.
They do, yeah.
There's been a lot of criticism about the outfits.
They grew on me.
Yeah, I actually kind of liked them.
Yeah.
I think they had that retro look to them.
Yeah. I also really like the scene as well where they had to forgive each other when they put their hands on the wall, and it went off because the two still had
George and Walt didn't like each other still, and it was like, you've got to let it go.
And then they let it go, and then the lights lit up, and then it went off again because he realized he was still angry with his brother, and then it went back on again once they forgave each other as well. I thought the whole bit, the last bit of that episode 7, I think it was, just the scenes were just incredible. It was like a lot about forgiving and overcoming sort of your anger, your hatred,
for the greater good.
Yeah, your pettiness, to get those powers to pass that final test. That was the final test, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like first test was give up all your anger. Second test was forgiveness.
That's it.
Rise above yourself, essentially.
Because if we're going to, the idea is if these aliens / gods are going to give you these powers, then they need to know that you're not going to turn on each other and create a bigger problem.
Yeah, I
think given human nature, probably going to happen anyway, it does.
I think that's why Utopian has the code.
That's exactly.
It's almost like live a godly life. These are like some sort of celestial entity, we'll say, and they have gifted us these powers, and we had to do these tests. And it was like overcoming the darkness of humanity.
Yeah,
and it's like we need to use the code so we don't go back that way again.
That's it.
We overcame all that in the cave, and we need to keep that. That's why we put the code in. We don't cross certain lines. I think that's exactly why the code. He's put the code there. He kind of learned in that cave. There's certain things we can't do if we want to keep these powers. We were also thinking as well, how did everyone, while we were watching the show, how did everyone else get powers? But we think we worked that out by the end of the episode, didn't we?
Yeah, when the powers are given to the 6, and they're referred to in the Union as the Majors, because obviously they're the first.
Yeah.
There's like a
the Sun's called one as well, though.
Is
in the last bit, they said what majors are left.
Oh, right.
And he said just the Utopian and whatever the
Paragon. So this blast of energy just kind of washes over
them,
and there's obviously they got there by boat. It washes over the boat crew. These strange symbols appear on their faces and then vanish.
And it keeps going.
And
it keeps going.
Presumably, the further you were away from that, the less you got diluted.
Yeah.
But then it passes on hereditary in most cases.
Yeah.
George's son, who we're introduced to, Hutch, he doesn't have any powers, but he does have a bit of tech, which was given to one of the original superheroes who we don't know what happened to.
Yeah. We don't know whether or not he does have powers, though. We think he might have powers.
I think
hasn't worked it out yet.
Maybe that glow rod
of
destiny, maybe that actually hinders powers,
suppresses
powers.
Well, yeah, because he said there was a scene, wasn't there, when they were fairly young and they just got their powers, and they were like, "Why are you the only one with the power stick, power rod?" And he's like, "Oh, it's because you're all dicks." But maybe that he's the only one that's got it because he's the only
weakest.
Could be, or it could be that he's the only one whose powers aren't affected by it.
Yeah,
because we know it can bypass some people's powers because he put it in that the big guy, the big boss.
Oh yeah,
he put it in his chest, didn't he?
That's it, yeah. Which was a great scene, by the way.
And then later on, it got an upgrade, and they were like, "Oh yeah, if you use that, you could probably kill the strongest man on Earth," implying it could kill Utopian. And yet we saw earlier on when he tried to take it from Utopian, Utopian could resist the pull.
Yeah,
he held on to it. So maybe certain powers can overcome it if you're strong enough.
Yeah, well,
but also some of the weaker powers maybe are suppressed. I don't know.
Maybe that does. Maybe it was obviously George Skyfox is his superhero name.
Yeah,
we'll get on to him in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he tinkered with it a little bit. He didn't want his son to have powers. Maybe he wanted him to make it the hard way.
Yeah.
He didn't want to. He didn't, and especially if you think about George's past, where he was the first to break from the Union, and break the code, because he felt that they should intervene more, and I completely actually agree with that, but I also agree with the code. It puts me in a bind, because they said it's mentioned Walt and Sheldon are talking, the Utopian and his brother. Then he says, we didn't intervene in World War II.
Yeah,
we think of the people we could have saved. We could have stopped the Holocaust.
I was completely on board with Walt. I was like, Walt is speaking a lot of sense, but has his conversation continued? He went from saying, we should have intervened more. We should have helped in World War II. We should have done this. We should have done that. And I was like, yeah, you guys could have been benevolent beings. And then he was just like, it all comes down to free will. They have too much free will. He's like basically saying we need to rule.
Yeah.
And it went from being the savior to let's rule as overlords and take away their free will. And I was just like, well.
And he probably could.
Yeah.
Because his powers are psychic.
Yeah.
He could probably, if they've got the tech,
yeah,
they could probably build some kind of beacon that just projects his psychic power across the globe and just bring everyone as a slave.
Or at least nullify violence.
Yeah.
And political sort of
the reason,
discourse.
Yeah. Now, George, and because when Vietnam rocked around in the 70s, that's the one thing. They don't age as much either, do they? They're all like about 90 at this point.
Yeah, I was a little bit. They're about 120, I think.
Well, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been superheroes for like 90 odd years.
Yes, yeah. But I was confused actually because there's a picture of Utopian and he's holding his two kids on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And that one's like 10 and one's like 8 or whatever. And he's got bits of brown hair still. He's got a short beard, no long hair, and his hair is almost completely brown.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in 10 years you went grey.
Yeah.
for like 80 years you were just starting to go grey, and in 10 years you've just gone completely white. What's going on with that?
I like the white-haired look.
I do, yeah, but I was just like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Why have you suddenly gone white-haired? Is it because all of a sudden they hit an age and then they rapidly age?
Maybe it's just, I don't know. I mean, maybe just certain things kick in along the way. I mean, we're not meant to go this long, are we?
No, when he flew down and he was lecturing his kids, I was like, oh, okay, then. So this guy is probably like 40 years old, or maybe or he ages slowly. And then all of a sudden he looks 60. And I'm like... And they're like, oh, yeah, he's been a superhero for 90 years. He's like 120 years old. I was like, so what? Does he just all of a sudden hit 110? And he's like, oh, no.
Oh, my hip.
Because he just went, everyone's gone white-haired. And I was like, okay. I don't know. But his wife has as well. So.
Yeah. Although she still looks pretty, I think she actually looks better with the grey hair in a weird way, a bit of a silver fox thing.
But was her hair white 10 years ago?
I don't know. And also, why did they wait so long to have the kids? She says we've been married for 60 years.
Yes.
So they must have been married for 40. They didn't get that busy.
And they decided to start a family when they were 100.
That they're busy, I guess.
Yeah.
I love that there's one bit in that series, he's banging her, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, wait. Oh, there's an asteroid on him. There's an asteroid coming for Earth. I'll be right back. I love you. Yeah. And he turns up like 12 hours later. He's, oh, man, that was tough.
That was cool, wasn't it? Yeah, I get the code and I get why it's there. But like his son in like the first episode, he loses two friends. and he's forced to kill a clone of what's that?
Black Star.
Black Star.
It was the big bad.
Who we now are pretty sure is an alien.
Yeah, I was
on the wiki because we weren't sure.
No, I was thinking maybe he'd done some weird fucking experiment on himself, but they might change it for the show.
They might do, yeah. But based on the comics, we now know he's an alien. He might change for the show. But he basically caves in the skull of the clone Black Star.
Yeah.
His father's furious because he broke the code. He killed something, even though pretty much straight away they find out it's a clone.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, well, technically I didn't kill anyone. He's a fucking clone. But okay. A mindless clone as well.
Yeah.
Can't think or talk or whatever. And I'm like, surely there's a bit of leeway with the code. He was about to snap your neck and go nuclear.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's all very well saying, "Oh, we don't kill."
But if they wipe out half the utopian sort of,
if they wipe out half the union,
yeah,
and blow up half a state,
yeah,
then that's not so good.
Yeah,
and
not at all.
And it's like, all right, I don't want to kill, but he's about to kill you, Dad, and he's already knocked Mom out.
Yeah.
And he's killed 2 of the young superheroes.
Who was childhood friends.
Who were my childhood friends.
Yeah.
So, I think he's got every right to do it.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
the code does make sense. After finishing the show, it makes sense. They have to hold themselves to a higher standard. Otherwise, anyone could just rule, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could literally rule us as gods. And because they have got absolute power.
Yeah, absolute power.
Absolute power. What does that do? Corrupts, absolutely. So
we spend too much time together.
Yeah, move out.
I'm just there with my stick and hanky. Okay.
Get your bindle.
Yeah. Is that what it's called?
A bindle. Yeah.
I never
Take Chloe.
Yeah. She's got a mini bindle.
She's got a little bindle and she's like the littlest hobo. How adorable.
It would be. We just sew it onto her little shoulder. And
you can just stick it onto a harness.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, but George basically wanted to try and be, we don't know because we haven't got enough information, but based on the limited information, because Walter said he's a terrorist, and then Utopian said he was a good man. We think that he was trying to do something good, but went over the top a little bit.
Kidnapping the vice president is probably going over the top.
He was trying to get the Vietnam War to end.
You think that's because he felt guilt over not intervening in World War II and Korea?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? We could have saved so many lives, American lives.
Clearly, he still values himself as a hero and the code, because all through the show, his son is a criminal. He does a lot of dodgy things, but he makes sure him and his crew, who are super powered, never kill.
That's true.
He follows the code, and he's a criminal because his dad taught him the code. He doesn't even like Utopian, but his dad must have taught him the code as a child, and he follows the code, which means up until about 10 years ago, his dad still followed the code.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think that George is still a nice guy. He's basically he's an eco-terrorist, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like
trying to stop a war.
Yeah, he's like the kids from Falcon and Winter Soldier, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's doing the wrong things for the right reasons.
That's right.
Except for she starts going a little crazy and murdering and blowing up and killing people. We need to review that.
We do actually, yeah.
Spoilers, sorry.
But I also think that Walt,
yeah,
made him out to be worse than he was.
Yeah, well, he could have killed the vice president, couldn't he?
Exactly.
He's super powered. He could have flew over to Vietnam and either gone, right, I'm going to back the Americans, kill all the Vietnamese, or I'm going to back the Vietnamese and kill all the Americans, or I'm just going to make you all stop and go home, or threaten to kill you all. But he didn't do either of those. No. He kidnapped someone and tried to convince them to stop the war. So
I suppose, let's face it,
he would have succeeded had he not got his ass kicked by all his mates.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a dick move. Talk him down.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, but I suppose what you'd end up with is the Dr. Manhattan scenario.
Yeah.
Where if they went to the US government and said, right, we want to help out, then they literally all of a sudden you've got 6 gods on your side. That means you are the most powerful country in the world and you can do what you want.
Yeah.
No one's going to fuck with you because your strongest weapons aren't going to touch these guys.
That's why he didn't directly get involved. He just went there and obviously clearly was like, look, I think this should end. And the vice president was like, this isn't going to end. There's nothing you can do about it because you're not allowed to get involved. That breaks your code. And he's gone, all right, then, well, you're coming with me. And I'm going to keep you until we change your mind.
Yeah.
So we obviously don't know if he was violent to the guy because we haven't seen that in sort of flashbacks yet. But I think he, like you said, Walt has had a plan for a long time, hasn't he?
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah.
Before we get to the sort of shocking twist,
Mega spoilers.
His daughter.
Oh yeah,
Utopian's daughter.
Worth ranting about her for a few minutes.
Annoying.
Not really that important to the plot.
But I suspect just more powerful than the sun.
Yeah.
I think that she's more powerful than the Paragon.
Yeah.
But she wants nothing to do with the hero thing. And I suspect because if you lecture someone constantly, right, for 10, 15, 20 years,
yeah,
one of two things happens. You either submit to it or you rebel against it.
Which is what she did.
So she's you know what? Fuck this. I've had enough of this. I'm fed up of being told this.
I suspect you're right as well with the powers, because right at the beginning when she's a kid, she knocks over the other two kids.
Yeah.
Didn't she? They're playing tag and she gets upset. No, they're playing like superhero, supervillain game, aren't they?
Yeah.
And she's chasing after him and she laser beams and they're like, oh, you missed. And she's like, ah!
Yeah.
And knocks them over. So I suspect she is like way more powerful than people think.
Yes.
She just holds back because her brother would have had superpowers at that point, or probably some of them anyway. And she knocked him fucking flying.
Well, yeah.
With her voice.
Yeah.
So she's probably really powerful. But her as a character, her arc is fucking terrible. And I suspect that's partly what brought the ratings down on the show. The rank on the show. She's basically, her dad is the most powerful being in the world, or one of, I don't know. He's kind of like got that Superman thing where he always holds back, doesn't he?
A little bit, yeah.
He gets his ass. He's like meant to be way stronger than his son, yet his son's won fights that he keeps getting his ass kicked with.
Yeah.
It's like
he's also getting on a bit, though, isn't he?
He is, yeah, maybe, yeah. I think maybe he just holds back so much he gets slapped around.
It's that whole not killing thing.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, if you think about it, if his son can punch the face in of that Black Star
he could
clone,
too.
He could too. So maybe he has to pull his punches.
He said, "Yeah, here's my jugular. Laser beam it. I'll be dead instantly."
Yeah.
So he obviously holds back mega and gets his ass kicked all the time because of it. But let's face it, this guy on a Tuesday goes while fucking his wife, goes up and stops a fucking asteroid.
That's it.
He's a busy dude.
He's a busy guy.
And she's like, oh, woe is me. My daddy wasn't around much. It's like, yeah, he's the reason why you could have a good childhood in a world full of supervillains. You could run around on your little farm. These guys are rich. They've for 100 years, they've owned money.
Yeah.
They're like, the daughter of Walt wanted $1 million and he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. They're probably all billionaires.
Well, yeah, I mean, they literally run a Justice League.
Yeah. They're all at least all millionaires.
Think of the merchandising rights alone.
Yeah, they're loaded. Absolutely. No, they're not allowed to do that, are they? One of the younger heroes says, oh, we can't. When they're trying to take photos, they're like, oh, yeah, we can't profit from it. We're not supposed to show off about it. So I don't think they sell toys and figures and stuff.
No, I bet they do a bit. Where's all that money coming from?
Because they were the social elites, weren't they?
Well, that's true, yeah.
So when they got back, they just rebuilt their businesses and they've been alive for 100
Fitz
years.
Wasn't he was just a steel worker.
Yeah, but he's not wealthy in the current timeline.
No, that's true. He's just employed by them, isn't he?
Yeah, he works for them. He's 100 years later and he still works for them.
Yeah, in a wheelchair. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that George broke his back.
I don't think so, because I think George isn't that evil. I think they're portraying it in the series as evil when actually he was good. He was the first to realize a code doesn't always work. Yeah. He worked in the grey. He was like that before they had powers, and that was fine when you didn't have powers, but now they do. It's like, oh, you've got to follow the rules. I think he was trying to think of the greater good, and sometimes you got to get a little bit dirty for the greater good.
Yeah, I agree.
He's almost like a Batman.
Yeah.
He even kind of looks a little bit like Batman with his whole suit and stuff. He's the Batman. He literally he's got one of his powers. He's basically a technomancer. He uses gadgets.
Yeah, true.
So I think he's the Batman, isn't he? Essentially, he does a little bit of bad for the greater good, but I don't think he'd snap his friend's spine.
Accidentally?
Maybe. I doubt it. Plus, they were kicking his ass. So when?
Yeah. So all right, then the shocking twist.
Yeah.
Where we find out that Walt is actually the villain.
Yeah, he's framing
George.
George, yeah. Because he's always hated George.
He's always hated George, but also he wants to rule.
He wants to be in charge. First of the sort of union, and then maybe essentially the world, or at least America.
I think that's the plan.
Yeah, it's union, America, world.
Because And because...
And he's willing to kill anyone for it, even his own flesh and blood.
Well, he kills his daughter.
Which is fucking brutal.
Yeah. Will we ever find out if anyone will find out about that? Hopefully in season 2. That's the thing with this season. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
He was very sneaky with that as well, because he kept her in that world, that sort of psychic world they go when they want to have private conversations. While he stayed, she thought he was in that world with her, but part of him stayed in the real world so he could slit her throat.
Yeah.
So it was like such a dick move. By the time they both left, she was dead.
Well, yeah.
So she had nobody to go back to. It was like, fuck.
See, that's the thing. I mean, it's like, if he creates a split between Utopian's son and Utopian, well, Utopian's going to have some kind of breakdown because his son is all he's got left. His son and his wife is all he's got left.
Yeah, and
he's jaded. He's old. I think he's fucking knackered. I think he wants to die.
I think he does. I think his relationship with his wife is becoming... They've been together for a very long time. It's becoming very fractured. She is struggling to see the code as well. She keeps seeing all these young children that look like her daughter and son dying.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait, when is it going to be them? You know, obviously it's probably not going to be the daughter because she's just a druggy burnout and she doesn't want to be a superhero. God, she was pointless, wasn't she? She was just like, oh, woe is me, my dad. It's like... Your dad was around. Most people's dads are deadbeat dads that disappear.
Your dad was a superhero?
Yeah. My dad wasn't a superhero. I haven't seen him in like 20 plus years. You know, they disappear. And at least hers was around and he's still trying now.
Yeah. He flew all the way from New York.
To have like a bagel with her. She was like, oh, I can't eat gluten. It's like...
Shut up.
Yeah. Eat the damn bagel. What is the issue?
Puzzled me about that scene, actually. He's like, oh, well, can I use your toaster? I'd have used my laser vision to toast the bagel.
So would I.
I'd use my laser vision for all kinds of shit. Like taking the top off a can of beer.
Yeah. Or just popping a hole in with your thumb.
Yeah, whatever.
Or just popping it in the middle just with your finger and then just drink it really quick.
I'd abuse the power.
So would I. But yeah, she's pointless, isn't she? She is literally, she doesn't really move the plot forward. You could take her out of that series and it probably would have been way better. To be fair, in my opinion, to go back a little bit, is if you'd given me the flashback sequence in just one series without all the modern day stuff, I would have given the show an 8. I actually enjoyed the flashbacks and the build up to all that and his kind of descent into madness, but getting everyone to go along anyway and then them going on this journey.
That's the thing. I mean, everyone thinks that Sheldon is literally a fucking lunatic. He's like seeing his dead father. He's drawing this random shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you know, we've come halfway across the fucking world.
Yeah.
On the whims of a madman.
But he's so charismatic, you want to follow him, and that's why he's the leader, isn't he? That's why Walt hates him.
Yeah,
because of his charisma.
He's not the guy. Walt wants to be him, but he's that autistic and inward. He can't be.
Yeah, he literally says the whole time, he's like, people follow you even if I know it's the wrong decision. He's like, I know what's right and nobody ever follows me. It's like he's angry that he doesn't have that charisma, that leadership.
Because he probably is more intelligent. Well, he is more intelligent than Sheldon.
He's probably right more often.
But he hasn't got that
charisma.
He hasn't got that X factor.
Nope. Yeah, so we can both agree she's useless.
Yeah.
She's just she's a spoiled rich kid, isn't she?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice fancy farm. She has everything that she could ever want. She's super powerful. Her parents obviously tried their best to be around while also saving the world. And she just was like, oh, boo-hoo, woe is me. I only saw him for like 4 hours a week. It's like, grow up. Spend time with them now. You could be a superhero and hang out with them every day.
Yeah.
It's like, grow. You're going to live probably to be 110 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I say, we got the young superheroes who are there losing faith in the code
because they're all dying.
Because the supervillains don't have a code. They're quite happy to kill.
Yeah, that scene was really awesome, actually, where Ghost, what was her name?
Ghost Beam.
Yeah,
Jenna.
She's talking to the mom and she's like, are you worrying about the code or do you still follow the code? She's like, yeah, I still follow the code because she stopped her friend from killing another supervillain, didn't she? And then later on, she tracks down the other one. And then Lady Liberty, is it?
Yeah.
She turns up and she's like, oh, okay, this is where the other bad guys got. And she doesn't know that the ghost, whatever her face is called, is found. You're better at remembering all the names than me. She doesn't know that she found him first, isn't she?
She knows they're in the building.
Yeah.
but she doesn't know where either of them are. She hears grunting and screaming.
Then all of a sudden she taps her ankle and freaks her out, and then she like cradles her while she bleeds out. She's like,
her out.
And she's like, I followed the code. And then obviously she's like, oh, okay, so these young kids are literally dying for the code now. And then she like nearly kills the guy.
Yeah, she
awesome fight.
Beat him to a pulp, blood splattered up her hair.
Yeah.
And it's like, and she walks out and she's literally says, call the coroner.
And they're like, oh, what happened?
Ghost beam is down. And they're like, what about him? And what about the bad guy? And he's like, oh, he gets to live. And you can hear the resentment in her voice.
She wanted to kill him, yeah. Because she's had enough now. She's seen so many kids die. She's like, this could be my son. This could be my daughter.
That's it. And that's the thing. She's worried about her family. And
yeah. She's fed up of spending the past 90 years putting these guys behind bars and then them getting out again.
Yeah,
having to repeat
the typical superhero thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to send you to jail. Oh, he's escaped. Well, yeah. Oh, I've got to do that again now. He killed me last time.
Black Star, whatever his name is, was in jail for like 2 weeks and he got out.
Yeah, but he was released by Walt.
He was, yeah, but he would have got out, wouldn't he? He would have got out. A guard would have made a mistake.
Yeah.
He's obviously been put away a few times, hasn't he? He's like, oh, this time's the time I'll get you, Sheldon. Shelley, you bastard.
I do like him as he's a character. I love his reading glasses.
And the fact that he was just like, just reading a romantic novel. I would totally kick your son's ass, but I'm too busy reading my romance novels.
But no, the end twist was great.
Yeah,
I loved it. I love that Walt is actually the villain of the whole thing, and I think he's probably framed George.
Yeah, it's definitely framed George. I do
think out the way.
I do think George got involved with politics, but I think he was trying to get involved the right way, but he just went about it a little wrong. He was like, okay, I can't be this destroyer of the world and create it in my own image, but I can try and give it a little bit of a nudge.
That's it.
In the direction, no more killing. I've seen enough of this through all the wars. So maybe I'll just push a certain way. And obviously the others were like, no, that's not cool. I think we'll see a flashback where Walter builds that up to be worse than it is.
Yeah.
He'll be like, oh, yeah, he was threatening to kill him. And then they'll be like, why did you threaten to kill him? He'll be like, oh, I didn't. And then he'll feel bad for never believing his brother. So he believes his brother that time and betrays George. And then George is just like, oh, I'm not even going to explain myself then. Because you obviously don't believe me.
Fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you.
I've never betrayed you, Shelley. And this time you don't fucking believe me. You believe him when he's always lying and he's always hated you and he's always been jealous. So fuck you then. I'm not even going to explain myself. I'm just going to fight back. And that's kind of what's created that split. And it was probably all part of Walter's probably 60-year-old plan.
60-year plan?
I think he's been thinking about this for a while. How can he get rid of... If he can get rid of Utopian or whatever his name is. I can't remember the name. Utopian. Then that's it. He's the most powerful, isn't he? Because he's not the strongest, but he's got the mind power.
Yeah, but he can't read his brother's mind. He can't read Utopian's mind.
Which means he can't break his mind.
Yeah.
But he can do it to anyone else.
He can do it to his son.
He can do it.
He can do it to Utopian's son.
He can do it to the wife. So even if one of the remaining 6, after all this, can beat him in a fight, they can't beat him in his mind.
Yeah.
So he can win. He just needs to get rid of the big bad. His younger brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I enjoyed the show. I must say, it kept me watching. I mean, I blitzed it in a week. Well, less than a week, at 3 days.
Yeah, I did.
And that's rare for me.
I did it in a couple of days as well. I think his plan is to try and get his nephew to kill his father.
That might be an option, or at least turn against him, which would break the Utopian mentally then.
And then there's no one in the world he can't manipulate then.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like playing a game of chess, isn't he?
Questions. It did leave a lot of questions.
It did. We want to know how Thingy's flares in the wheelchair.
Yep, fits.
What else did we have? We had a few, didn't we? Can you remember any others?
Will anyone find out if they killed his daughter?
Were they on Jupiter?
Were they on Jupiter?
Ooh, that was me. Sorry. I thought I'd muted that.
Will Skyfox come back? Yes, of course, presumably.
Yeah. Will we get the explanation as to what really happened with that?
That's it. I mean, how did he betray the Union?
Will we find out more about the therapist that he goes to?
Yeah, who ends up actually being a supervillain. Utopian goes to see a therapist.
Yeah.
And you don't find out until later on in the series, he's actually going to the prison, the Supermax, where they keep all the sort of supervillains.
Because this guy who he's basically been fighting for 20 years, who'd been trying to kill him, is also a qualified therapist. It's the only one he feels comfortable opening up to. He's like, you're the only guy who gets me. My wife and children don't get me, but you get me, the guy that's been trying to murder me for 20 years.
And of course, the sixth member of the show, sixth member of the crew, original crew, Blue Bolt.
He's not mentioned pretty much at all.
No one mentions him.
Other than flashbacks, he's not mentioned.
So where the fuck is he, and why is no one talking about him?
Do you think Flair is a traitor as well?
Okay, why?
Because he straight away said, "You did the right thing when you killed Black." Yeah. He's like, "You saved my daughter." Do you think there's a bit of? We don't know what his injury was, but do we think that maybe he blames the code for his injury?
I think there must be some kind of resentment.
So do you think
Because I'd be pretty pissed if I was a superhero confined to a wheelchair.
So do you think he's on Team Walter and he's just hiding it? They're very chummy, aren't they? They hang out a lot.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Do you think he's like, oh, the code fucked me and I don't want the same thing to happen to my daughter?
Because his daughter's very vocal about how the code is letting them down.
Yeah. She follows it, but she nearly leaves, doesn't she? And her dad's fine with it. He was fine with the killing. Him and Walter seem to hang out a lot. I know they're doing the autopsy and stuff, but they spend a lot of time together.
I love the guy that turned up for the autopsy. I don't know what his name is.
He's kind of the sorcerer supreme of that universe, isn't he? He was a villain turned into an
ally, but still got a bit of sass about him.
He's like, "Oh, I love you," in red, and just flicks his fingers, and her dress turns red. He was like, "If your mom had a slightly better taste, she'd be calling me daddy." He's just that guy that's so obnoxious and such a dick. But you've got to love him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he stole the show. He should have been in it a little bit more.
I hope we see him again.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's pretty much all our questions, isn't it?
That's it. I think we've gone through a lot of it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I really did. I thought it was a bit of a thinking man's superhero show.
Yeah, I loved the flashbacks. I think that for me, they get an 8 out of 10. They were really good. I don't think people understood what they were watching. They went in for a superhero show. I think season 2's a superhero show. Season 1's the origin of a superhero show.
Well, this is the Millerverse. Netflix have acquired the rights to this, so no matter how it does, they're going to do a second season because they spent millions on it.
Yeah. The rating's going up. The other day it was like 6.7. It's 6.9. More people are starting to enjoy it. It's number 1 on Netflix. That's why we're doing it, because we're ambulance chasers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was pretty well acted, well scripted.
I was a bit iffy on the acting to begin with, because I thought the Utopian. I mean, my first impressions of him, he was. I was like, but as it's gone on, I've warmed to him. But he's not the strongest actor in my opinion.
No, I did like the guy who played George.
George, yeah,
great.
George is definitely, I'd say, one of the best actors in the series, definitely. And then the guy, obviously, that turns up and he's the magician guy.
Yeah.
He's like, great actor. He needs to be in it a lot more.
He does. He needs to come back.
To be fair, solid cast. I was like, I was a bit unsure because I saw the daughter. I was like, oh, she's not very good. Saw the son. I was like, oh, not very good. And then saw Utopian. I was like, he's okay. But then they started bringing more in. The mom's a pretty good actor. But then as soon as George came into it, Walter came into it, and all the other actors, I was like, yeah, actually, this is a pretty good cast. But yeah, George for me, he's probably my favorite character.
Yes, me too, because I think he's going to be the most interesting.
Yeah, so I hope if we don't get even in season 2 a reveal as to where he is, we at the very least get more flashbacks with a young George.
Yes, I'd imagine that. I think it will follow a similar thing. It'll follow their careers from the 30s.
We need to see the build-up as to where there was the fracture, don't we?
Absolutely. I think season 2 will take us through like the Second World War, 40s, 50s.
We might
60s,
even get that,
and I think we'll kind of the flashbacks will kind of end with Skyfox leaving the Union, and then they're finding him again.
At the same time, in the current time, maybe at the end of the season, we get
George back.
Yeah,
and maybe he'll take down Walt.
Yeah, and we'll find out if his son actually has a power.
Maybe the son's power is resistance to Walt.
I don't know if he can take Walt down, because if he takes Walt down, the series hasn't really put into play any other characters that could become villains.
Oh, I'm sure there's a few villains about.
Short of maybe George killing Walt, and then that ends up breaking Shelley's mind and he becomes the bad guy in season 3. And we see maybe a complete sort of rogue Superman, essentially. He goes on a rampage because his brother's just died. He's lost the last blood relative other than his children.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I quite like I've noticed a lot at the moment that they're trying to kind of spin the whole Superman on its head.
Yes, they are, yeah.
Because everyone was like, oh, Superman, he's basically got the powers of a god. He's boring. He's two-dimensional and all that. And so everyone's now like, Let's make him rogue, or let's make him bad, or let's make him not afraid to snap Zod's neck.
Let's make him conflicted.
Yeah, let's make him tortured, or willing to kill if he has to. And I quite like that. It puts a bit more depth to the character, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Because otherwise you've just got nothing.
Yeah. But I'm excited for it. I think that the modern time one, the pacing was off a little bit for me, and the action, I can understand why they didn't put a lot in it.
They're saying that a lot of the criticism of it is that the fight scenes and the special effects looked a bit crap. But
there wasn't a lot of fight scenes and special effects.
Well, that's it, but I didn't think it was too bad.
I feel like they wanted to make some money so they could put more money into the fight scenes next season.
Yeah.
I think that it could have been a little bit better. I feel like they need to come away from that daughter Chloe a little bit, make her story a little bit less.
Yeah.
The son, maybe focus on him, keep focusing on him.
He's a little two-dimensional, though.
He is
I want to be like you, Dad.
Yeah, I think the sort of old people, it needs to stay focused on them.
Yeah.
They are the most interesting of the cast in present day time and in the past.
See, although they've got sort of super
Claire's
abilities.
daughter is actually very interesting. They need to bring her into it more. And also Walter's daughter was very interesting, but she's gone now.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, she's actually really interesting. I hope she's in it more.
Ninja assassin.
Yeah.
Psychic ninja assassin.
And then they just got rid of her. I was like, well, that was a wasted character. She's actually really interesting. And her anger and her sort of rage they could really build on that. She could be a villain in the future.
Yeah.
It's almost like they killed off any potential for villains, so they need to bring more into it. But Flair's daughter's interesting. I like her.
She's every potential. She might go rogue. Maybe you'll end up with the Union splitting and George leading one side of it.
Yeah, because we need more villains to be brought in.
Sheldon leading the other.
Yeah. We can't keep having a recycled villain, can we?
No.
So, yeah, I don't know. But I feel like if they keep focusing on the flashbacks because they're really good, and then maybe sort out the pacing a little bit more, maybe give us a little bit more superhero fights, a bit better choreographed.
Yeah.
The only one I really enjoyed out of all the fights was the one with the wife when she fights that villain.
All right, I quite enjoyed when they fought the Black Star clone.
It was a bit. I thought that's the one I thought looked a little bit tacky in terms of special effects. That's the one that I thought would have brought the rating down. To be fair,
I quite enjoyed the.
I like the
when
beginning.
He laser beamed the fucking one hero, and then she just had her head in his hand. She blasted her body apart.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
That was cool because it was brutal, but the kind of slow motion where he punches him in the top of the head and his arms all up weird. It looks like he's being held by lines, by like steel wires. It kind of, and then he just comes down and punches him in the head. It's almost like you could see the wires.
Yeah.
So I liked the fight when she was fighting that guy that could shoot lasers. That was a good one. After he killed the ghost girl.
Ghost beam.
Yeah, that's it. But some of the fight, I could see what the criticisms were with some of the fights. You have to be very careful when you put flight into fights.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
so that it doesn't look weird.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. I think that's what made the special effects look a little weird on some of the fights is when they were on the ground, it looked all right. But when they made them fly, it looked a bit tacky, didn't it? Although I did like when it slammed in and killed, the guy that was sat on the car. He could do like pyro hands.
Oh yeah.
And he just gets squashed. He just dies like instantly because someone just crashes into him. I'm like, I like that bit. He was just like, hey, you single now? It's like, well, you're not getting a date. I like that. But yeah, that fight, work on putting a little bit more effort into the fight scenes, I think. Maybe don't focus so much on the flying. The running looked really good, though, when Flair could run still.
Yeah.
When he did the speed thing. I actually liked that. That looked really good. Very sort of a flash.
Yes, yeah.
But they need to sort the flying out. The costumes, they definitely grew on me over time. Definitely. They were very comic booky, weren't they?
Yeah, very retro.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it a 7.3.
Yeah, I'd say a 7.3, maybe 7.2. I'd give the flashbacks an 8.
Yeah, they were the most interesting part.
Yeah.
And they were the majority of the series, really.
Yeah. The main show, I would have got a 6. If you took Chloe out of it, I would have put it at like a 6.5 to 7. she literally really brought it down for me. I was like, oh, every scene she complains. And I'm just like, we get it. You wanted to be daddy's girl and he was too busy saving the universe. Boo-hoo. He's there. He's trying. Eat the fucking bagel.
Eat the bagel.
Eat the bagel.
Eat the bagel.
If that was me, I would have been like, look, if you don't eat the bagel, I'm not coming again because I'm sick of wasting all my money on these fucking bagels. And she would have been like, oh, Dad, you rich? I don't care. You buy the bagels? No. Fuck you, bitch. I would have flew off.
You spend all the money on Coke.
Yeah. I would have literally been like, look, I'm taking your toaster if you don't even eat gluten. Flew off. And he'd be like, you petty bitch. I'm like, yes, I am. As I fly away with this toaster. It's my toaster now. See how long you go without gluten now, bitch.
You bitch. And then you just laser beam a window through just because you can.
Yeah, I would just be, if I had a superpowers, my daughter was just being a fucking spoiled brat, I would just be so dickish with my powers. Be on the other side of the planet and I would just like fucking laser beam like a hole in a car or something. In a tires. Yeah, take that, bitch. That's for saying my turkey dinner was shit on Christmas Day. That's for turning up late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good. So I think
a good show.
That's the end of that.
Yeah, that was our review. There was a lot to cover on that, to be fair. I feel like we covered everything.
I think so.
Yeah, it spans over 90 years, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I mean, they don't cram in the full 90 years, but we get like all the flashbacks and all the current day stuff. Not a lot of stuff has really happened in the current day stuff.
No, not really.
It all goes over the course of a couple of weeks, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's more world building, I feel.
Yeah.
In this one. But this is the world we're in. This is the rules.
I don't like how they kill off all of the young superheroes that nobody gives a shit about.
Oh, they're just there to be expendable.
Yeah.
But how many is there? That's the thing.
Yeah. But then it's like, you need to bring those in because we're going to need villains and we're going to need unstoppable villains. So chances are most of those unstoppable villains are either going to have to be like fucking aliens, apparently, or ex-union creators, aren't they, really?
That's it.
So you need to keep some of those young ones alive.
Even if you've got all them powers, surely the human mind is always going to decline.
Yeah, well, I think that's what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely what's happening with Walt. And I think it's happening a little bit with Shelley.
Yeah.
I refuse to call him Sheldon. Hey, Shelley.
I like it.
Shelley. Some of them do call him Shell, though, don't they? Yeah.
I quite like it.
I think that's why he keeps going to his therapist, because he's struggling to grasp the day and age he's in.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go from fucking... Because he still listens to like music from the 20s.
Yeah. It's like his mind kept up for a while. He's like he's in the 50s, isn't he? He's still very much, this is a great country. We have to love God. We have to be patriotic. We have to be goody two-shoes. Is like there is no grey areas, only black and white. So it's almost like he just got to a time and then just stopped. Yes, I'd agree with that. He's a man at a time. Yeah. It's like, but he's trying his best. But I guess by the 1950s, he would have been old, wouldn't he? He would have been like 60, 70. That's when people stop growing. They start getting... Because he would have... No, he's born... Well, he's 30 in the 20s. Oh, yeah, late 20s. So he'd have been 60 odd, in the 50s. So usually that would have been the time when his body starts giving out anyway, and you stop sort of changing with the times, don't you? You stick with what you know. Yeah, well, when people hit their sort of 40s, that's it. They're kind of solidified. It's very rare that you'll go, you know what, I want to try something new when you're in your 40s, isn't it? True. So, and as you get to, I'm not 40. You nearly are. 2 years left, mate. 2 years. And then when you get to your 60s, that's it. You're just like, oh no, this technology. I can't touch this computer. I don't know. My dad's pretty good with his computer. He's got a brand new Mac. Is he? Yeah, he loves his iPad. Some people do keep up with the times, but not everyone. Yeah, that's it. I mean, don't get me wrong. He probably doesn't use it to its full potential, but he knows how to use it. You still have to go and set up some tech for your parents, don't you? Yeah, and I'm not great. Yeah, exactly. And I have to do some stuff for I'm always doing stuff for my family because they're always useless with tech. So I think you do sometimes they get left behind maybe. And I feel that's his problem now is he can't. The world's a scary place for him now, isn't it? Yeah, but he doesn't want to admit it's a scary place. No, it's like I'm the most powerful man in the world, but I'm scared. And I'm bamboozled. Yeah, I'm scared all of the time, and I don't understand this new world. I don't understand how to raise 20-year-old children. Back in my day, I'd have just slapped them and sent them down the pit. Yeah.
Put them to work in the mill.
They don't act like they're 20, do they? They act like they're like 15. They're so both of them are very childish. The son's kind of, I feel like this is what's going to happen because I've seen this before in, I'm not going to say poor writing, but predictable writing, is the son is on the straight and narrow trying to impress his dad and be the goody two-shoes, and his daughter's the rebel. I'm the badass, I'm this, I'm that, I don't care, I don't listen to anyone, I don't make friends. They'll flip by the end.
Yeah.
She'll end up being the star player, she'll be utopian, and he'll end up following his uncle and end up being the new criminal, and they'll end up having to fight each other and all that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
bold prediction. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah. It's just predictable writing. Isn't
let's see.
Flip the script, as you say.
Flip it. Right. I've been Ben. Thank you very much for listening. Don't drink the Flavor Aid. You can join my cult if you like.
You're like, I'm taking applications. Bikini models get in for free.
Yes. Form a shield wall. We don't have to social distance us from. Oh no, I don't know. We can go back in a pub on Monday.
I think it's still 2 meters there.
I want to go to the pub on Monday.
I don't think you have to. Do you have to wear a mask?
I don't know. No, I wouldn't have thought so. I'm going to be drinking a beer.
I don't think you do when you sat down. I think you still do when you walk in.
I'm going to go to the pub Monday night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You're like, freedom!
I'm going to go have a couple of pints after work.
Yeah? Who are you going with?
Just going to go on my own.
You're like, I've missed you. And they're like, who's he talking to? I think he's talking to a beer. You're like, yes, my precious.
Yeah. So don't social distance in your shield wall anymore.
Yeah. And I've been Sean. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Anchor, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. We're on the Come Through the Bull SoundCloud. Follow them. Listen to them. They have YouTube and Spotify and everything as well. We have Patreon. Nobody wants to give us money yet, but if you'd like to, we'd love it.
Hey, just a quid.
Yeah, anything.
If you think a show is worth a quid, give us a quid.
Yeah, because we need it, because we're poor. Times have been hard. No, they haven't really. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Peace out.